How can we seriously consider a $50 billion increase in the defense budget when DOD's own auditors say the department cannot account for $2.3 trillion in transactions in 1 year alone?
It is, I was going to say terrifying. I
don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. Punks are running wild in the street. There's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it. We know the air is unfit to breathe and our food is unfit to eat. We sit watching our TVs while some local newscaster tells us that today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy, so we don't go out anymore. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living rooms. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad. I don't want you to protest. I don't want you to riot. I don't want you to write to your congressman because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crying in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value.
What if the American people learn the truth?
Putting politics and ideologies aside, this country's longest war is against a word: terror. Fear by stupefaction and facts by intimidation, planned over decades. Human beings are malleable, weak, and succumb to carnal desires with more capital. Capital DC is far from the cockpit, with corporations now defined as people. How is Halliburton allowed to profit billions from bloodshed and massacre with taxpayer dollars? There's no limit to cautionary monetary distortion of truth. Perception is everything. So if you perceive war with the word, if you create massive media campaigns, subliminal messages, broadcasted elements that Arabs are to be trusted, if you ingrain into the everyday psycho color-coded terror levels, plausible weapons of mass destruction, then collateral damage rings worthy. What's 3,000 dead Americans, 3,000 multi-million billion-dollar contracts for warheads and uniforms? As gas makes America go nowhere, we sacrifice billions of dollars and millions of lives to defeat terror? On September 11, 2001, the world changed forever. How 14 hijackers of Saudi Arabian descent led to Afghanistan and Osama, Iraq and Saddam, Pakistan and school children is beyond reason. When Flight 77's passenger and autopsy list showed there were none, zero errors on board, where are these apparent hijackers? We were hijacked by corporate interests, oil sustainability, and the Marshall hierarchy. As 3 of the buildings of the Twin Towers fell, kneel perfectly, they became the first of their kind in all of history to fall from plane or fire damages. With thermite in the rubble, residues of a mass plan become apparent. Thermite form only the military possesses to cut steel. Reveal 80 operational Pentagon surveillance cameras on that terror day don't have a millisecond of footage of the West Wing undergoing a public maintenance convenient hit. Giuliani spillwits. Civilians die yet military lives. To think is to express, outbound their limits. Lest I digress to represent the repressed. Silence to siren evidence.
Appalled at how much people in this country do not think. We are given to understand that an Arabic guy out there up in the mountains financed the most elaborate attack on this country.
Do you think some people in a cave were able to have NORAD stand down? Do you think that people in a cave were able to have all of this happen?
And when I think about how many Americans were killed in New York City, and believing as I do that this thing was a setup job, this is a textbook operation that Nazis used, and they used it over and over again. America has been suckered in one more time.
Under the guise of anti-terrorism activities in 1976, the United States military conducted exercises that simulated an attack on the World Trade Center. Using commercial planes, undermined security with simple box cutters. In 1976, this perfect terrorist attack saw its testing and breeding ground. With Dick Cheney as President Ford's chief of staff, Donald Rumsfeld as Secretary of State, George H.W. Bush as head of the CIA. All you're missing is George W. an extra hijacked plane or two. The recipe is shockingly familiar. A repulsive affirmation of selective, objective, deceptive American history.
It's a mind-bending anomaly. Not a single U.S. Air Force interceptor turns a wheel until it's too late. There are no jets at all.
What if they were so confused and had been so deliberately confused that they couldn't respond? The reason that they didn't know where to go was because a number of conflicting and overlapping war game exercises were taking place. It involved the insertion of false radar blips onto radar screens in the Northeast Air Defense Sector.
Center Team U, we have a problem here. We have a hijacked aircraft headed towards New York. Someone just scrambled some F-16s or something up the south.
Is this real world or exercise? Is this real world or exercise?
Dean recently seemed to muse aloud whether you had advanced knowledge of 9/11. Do you agree or disagree with the RNC that this kind of rhetoric borders on political hate speech?
Yeah. There's time for politics. And, it's time for politics. And, it's an absurd insinuation.